nothing, I think, in a marriage or in a divorce is equal. And I think if people are able to set that expectation aside,
Right. Yeah.
you know, it's not about the time has to be 50-50, or if
Yeah.
I give you this day, you have to give it back.
Right.
It's the flexibility.
Yeah.
And it's not taking it personally if somebody wants dad or mom. You know, they've got all these schedules out these days where parents don't even ever have to see each other if it's high
Yeah.
conflict. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm not sure that's the best way either, because then kids get very nervous and anxious at the school play or the,
Right.
you know.
When there are opportunities or requirements for people to come together.
Right. Move as slow and thoughtfully as possible. And that's not going to be the same for every family. There are some families where it has to happen quickly.
Yeah.
But let's be thoughtful about it.
What are some of the schedules that are working out there? What are some of the schedules that don't work?
I think the schedules, I think they're so unique to the family. I think one of the initial things that's really hard in a separation is the loss of time with your children
Yeah.
or child. That is...
Helps if you have a hot, rich lover. I've heard. So they say.
Let's ease the pain.
Let's ease the pain. Because it's, you know, you want to be with them all the
course,
time.
so
You're
you're
used
used
to
to
it.
that, yeah.
Until at some point, I think parents do get used to it, having like a weekend to themselves. Like when they start to kind of recapture a sense of themselves and another waking up of part of their identity that might have been kind of quiet for a while.
But it's a mourning process.
You know, the common ones are the 2-2-5-5, which is like a Monday, Tuesday with one parent, or Wednesday, Thursday with the other parent, and they alternate every other weekend. So you know, it just depends on the family. I mean, if the parents can get behind the schedule, the kids will look to the parents. You know, there are some kids who can't do it.
Yeah.
I always try to get people to be flexible, because there's a lot of ways to do, you know, 50-50 or 60-40 and be creative. Like, I love it when people can be creative.
Yeah.
Like, let's be creative. Maybe you get an extra week of vacation during the summer, but you know, I've seen children who really have to be back at one parent's house on a Sunday to organize for the week, or you know, their anxiety is so high that they can't do the 2-2-5-5.
Yeah.
So maybe we do a 2-2-3. But then there are parents' work schedules that can't accommodate that. I mean, so...
And you can work with anything. I mean, you can,
If you want to,
look at
right?
the kid's point of view and think, how can we make this easier? And, you know, for little kids, it really helps to have visual things like calendars where they know exactly where they're going to be, and you know, and what's going to be at each parent's house, and you know, and knowing and communication. You know, if you have a regular set phone call from the parent that's not there every night at a certain time, or a book that goes between the houses with things that are written down and communicated with, that the kids can see it's happening, or maybe the kids get to write in the book or draw in the book too, or they can open things at the other parent's house.
It's an effort that I think that makes the schedule work. You know, and at the same time, it can be really helpful if in the beginning, parents don't have to have it be a certain way right from the beginning. If you can actually think, okay, wait a minute. What if the schedule was, the goal was ultimately get to 50-50 physical, and that everybody's in agreement with that. But does that happen next week, or does that happen
over time?
So that the kids can build an emotional muscle to going back and forth, and everybody's getting used to it, and you know, and then figuring out what schedule works. And I find that again, it goes back to flexibility and not being able to manage the loss in the morning and not let it interrupt with like, well, what's the best situation here?
There can be a lot of pressure or rush to feel like if you're not getting something right away, maybe you won't get it. Rather than, you know, having some trust, not in the marriage necessarily, but in that relationship and that family, to be able to kind of take things slow and really at every step, just think about how are the kids doing with this?
Don't you want to solidify some sort of agreement, some sort of, you know, is it just kind of like, okay, look, for 3 months we try something? How do you keep certain that things are going to move along in a way that you won't be disadvantaged, but at the same time, you know, take a breath and do what's best for the family?
It's a great question.
That is a really good
because
question.
structure is really important. I mean, it's important for the kids too to know what's happening, and for the parents to have a feeling that they're working towards something.
Right.
I think it's the sudden and traumatic way that's hard. And it's also in the communication. I mean, whatever's developmentally appropriate for
whatever age.
But how it gets talked about. Like we decided we wanted to try this. We think it's best for this reason. We want to know how it's going to go for you guys too. I mean, because they'll let you know either directly or in their behavior and so it just takes a lot of patience. And I think that's one of the hardest things in co-parenting is getting people to they don't, sometimes the trust is not there, of course. To trust that this is a transition and you ultimately will get somewhere.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually have to look the same. It helps in being creative with making negotiations, like if this feels fair. And what I'll find is when we like really define what fairness is, and it really is different, you'll see another parent go, well, I can do that. Like I have no problem being the one that always drives the kids. We don't have to exchange drop-offs. And it's kind of like, oh, like, okay.
Well,
and then the other person has received a gift and they want to give back.
A lot of the meaning and language around divorce is about fairness, and yet your parents are being asked in a way to not think about fairness when it comes to the kid's best interest, because what might be in the kid's best interest might really be unfair to one of the parents.
Exactly, and that's where you get to define what fairness is and play around with it in a little bit in a way, because it's really hard for them to set that aside, I find. But it's nice when you can kind of put it on the table.
I like hearing you say, creativity and flexibility are really some of the things that will go longer, because what I'd hate for people to do is just be like, okay, look, this is what everybody's doing. This is what the cool kids are doing, 2255 or 311 or whatever, every other year or whatever it is. And not think about, okay, this is actually what matters in our family. This is what matters to dad. This is what matters to the kids. Having, seeing dad's face at breakfast or mom's face at dinner or whatever that is.
Yeah.
This is Kaamna from KaamnaLive, and this is your destination for BS-free conversations about all the things you care about. If you liked what you saw, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, potter around and see what else we have here, and of course, tell your friends. Cheers.